It's the Behind the Shade show.
For the woman who's going through this journey, and let's say they're in a relationship and they have a partner, how can the partner then help them through the journey to be aware, to be as supportive as possible with their partner?
Yeah, I mean, this is a good question. I've been getting this question more, not just from men, but also from women that the way I respond or, how is my spouse going to deal with this? And I would say for men, to recognize one that the hormone system is being governed by the endocrine system. So the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, the thyroid, the adrenal glands, and the ovaries. This system impacts every piece of a woman's body, from the way they feel to the way their brain's working, their emotions. So, first, recognizing there's some huge changes going on here. So, I think that recognition brings compassion. So, anytime we can kind of put ourselves in that place to go, oh, wow, there's something bigger going on here. And then also to recognize that your wife or your spouse is up leveling. They're turning into something amazingly beautiful. And there has to be some room to allow for that space. So I think that can be good. And then also just being, having those honest conversations like, whoa, this feels like an over response, or I didn't mean to trigger you. What's going on here? Like, ask that question as opposed to just reacting in a negative way. Because sometimes, things come out sideways when maybe you're watching TV and your wife is just crying for no, it's like a diaper commercial. You don't know what's going to like trigger those hormones. And so, bringing compassion in and leaving room for that greater change that's happening to her. I think those would be some first steps. I hope that helps.
Well, it's definitely going to help me because I look back on my dating experiences. I've always dated women older. So by the graces of God, I haven't experienced anyone that's gone through menopause because they went through it before I got in the picture. So, and maybe that's me like subconsciously knowing that for me, I'm always like, ah, so if you're over 50, let's go, right? So, but what I found is it became of interest to me over the last couple of years because as I get older, the people my age will start to go through with it, right? Even though I haven't experienced it with a partner. And I always got curious because we want to be loved in the way that we want to be loved. But because the hormones and the situations are different for those who are going through it, there has to be some grace and some, at least, what's the word I'm looking for? Some leeway, for lack of a better word,
Yeah.
right? Um, what maybe in general, what maybe behavior changes can someone anticipate of their partner just so when you mentioned if they put on a diaper commercial, they start crying, they don't throw the remote at the TV and break the TV. Now everyone is mad.
Well, I think that's a tough question because perimenopause or even premenopause, which we think of as late reproductive years, the changes can be different depending on the woman's health. So the symptoms of perimenopause can be anywhere from 10 and now, some scientists saying up to 100. I like to say around 60 to 65 is what I think we have a lot of science around. And each woman will present a little bit differently. But I think the first signs will be mood shifts. So if you've dated a woman who has maybe really bad PMS, right, that premenstrual cycle mood swings means their estrogen and progesterone levels are fluctuating at a high rate. When you're coming into perimenopause, your estrogen, progesterone, and even testosterone levels are coming down and your cortisol levels are coming up, right? That symphony of the endocrine system is changing. So usually the first signs will be mood changes. So unexpected crying, unexpected anger that can even surprise the woman who's going through it. Like, whoa, why am I crying or why am I so mad? So those would be some of the first ones. Some other ones might be really low libido. So men, this is important for men to know. Your woman doesn't not like you. She doesn't hate you. She's like, she's having low libido and she's wondering herself, what's going on with me? Like, because women are just as sexual as men. And I think low energy can be one of the primary things. That's one area I work a lot in my business because low energy can be one of those first signs where maybe you feel flat, you no longer have spark, you don't really feel like you maybe have a purpose. Well, I'm going to PTA or picking up my kids, or I've got maybe I have a corporate job, I have all these obligations. I don't feel like doing any of them. Nothing is bringing me joy. Those are some signs there's some major hormonal shifts because our hormones really impact our brain. And so I think those can be some first signs. Not all women, but I would say in general, those would be some things to look for.
I'm glad you mentioned the energy. I'm glad you mentioned the libido because from a man's perspective, those are two things that is going to be on our radar, right? Because to your point, it could be last month or 2 months ago, everything was good. High energy, high enthusiasm inside the bedroom, outside the bedroom. Now, as she's going through this, it's like, oh, the energy's off. Oh, we're not as intimate anymore. And for a lot of men, we're going to think she's cheating. Right? There's someone else. I knew that mailman every time he came to the door, right? Like that's how like a lot of men will start to think, right? Because I don't think, to my knowledge, and maybe you can correct me, I don't think there's a class for men or for partners about this, right? This seems to be more like a woman get together, woman on woman type of conversation. And I strongly believe that men should get involved because when you start to see these changes, it's not that she's stepping out of the relationship or she finds you unattractive. She's just going through something. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I love the way you articulated that because it's very true. And even for me, I feel the most comfortable talking to other women in this space because they're the ones who are going through it. But I also like to bring that awareness that when women go through menopause, their entire family and community is impacted. So their personal, interpersonal relationships with their man, with their children, but then also at a community level. Maybe you did a lot of volunteer work at church or at a food bank or whatever, but then now you found, I can't do that. I'm too exhausted. And so I think this is a great conversation, bringing more awareness and yes, knowing that just because energy levels and libido are low this month, they could actually fluctuate back up. Some women will deal with a period of a little bit higher testosterone where there'll be a lot more activity and interest, followed by a very steep decline. So it can be confusing, I think, from that outside perspective. But yeah, this change impacts everything that happens in a woman's life, and their family, their friends, relationships, community, all of that. So thank you for bringing that to light.